Ever feel like when you hear about evolution, like it explains how things happen, but not so much the why.
Right.
Like, what's the point,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, get ready because we are taking a deep dive into a perspective that says it can answer both.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring excerpts from the Urantia book.
Okay.
And it adds like this whole spiritual layer to the idea of evolution.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It really takes sort of these scientific principles that we understand, like natural selection and, survival of the fittest,
Right.
and combines those with the idea of a cosmic plan.
Okay.
That there are these advanced beings that are sort of orchestrating this whole thing.
So not just random chance.
Not just random chance.
But an actual guiding hand?
Yeah, a guiding hand. That's really the core of the Urantia book's take.
Okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not Urantia. It's not Earth.
Right.
It's Urantia in this book.
Urantia, right.
That already tells me we're in for something different.
Exactly.
But who are these beings that are guiding everything?
Yeah, so think of them as like cosmic gardeners.
Okay.
That are nurturing life on this planetary scale.
Okay.
The book calls them life carriers.
Okay.
And they're these incredibly advanced beings who can manipulate energy and matter.
Wow.
To literally build the foundation for life.
So they're the gardeners.
Yeah.
What does that make us? Are we like their prize-winning roses?
Not quite.
Okay.
One of the most interesting things that Urantia book talks about is this idea of threefold creativity. So it's not just these life carriers, snapping their fingers and poof, life appears.
Right.
They need partners in this.
Okay.
They need other cosmic players to make this happen.
Gotcha.
So think of it this way. You've got these master physical controllers.
Okay.
And they're kind of setting the stage.
Sure.
They're setting the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got these 7 master spirits, and they provide the actual spark of life.
Okay.
And then you've got the life carriers, who are the gardeners who plant the seeds and nurture them.
So it's like a cosmic collaboration.
And it's a cosmic collaboration. That's exactly it.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
But like, how does this work in practice?
Wow.
Do they just show up on a lifeless planet with their little, cosmic gardening tools and get to work?
It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They have these different forms they can take,
Okay.
depending on what it is they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, they have what they call a mid-phase form.
Okay.
And this is sort of how they usually operate.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is guiding the evolutionary process
Okay.
from a higher level of existence. So imagine them like overseeing things from this cosmic control room, making sure everything's on track.
So they're not just hands-on gardeners, they're also like these cosmic overseers.
Exactly.
But if they're so hands-on, why does it feel like, from our perspective, evolution is full of just like chance and struggle?
Well, that's because according to the Urantia book, free will is paramount.
Okay.
Once intelligent life emerges and develops that capacity for choice, the life carriers have to kind of take a step back.
Really?
It's a core principle for them.
Wow.
They don't interfere with free will.
So once humans came along with our big brains and even bigger egos, they're like, no, right, peace out, good luck with that whole free will thing.
Yeah, you could kind of put it that way.
Wow.
Although they can act as advisors,
Okay.
but only if they're directly asked.
Okay.
And even then, it's about guidance.
Right.
It's not about control. So the Urantia book is very clear. They don't interfere with our choices, even if those choices lead to less than ideal outcomes.
Wow. So even with these cosmic gardeners, we are responsible for our own evolutionary journey.
That's right.
That's wild. Okay, but let's back up a bit.
Okay.
You mentioned that the life carriers planted the seeds of life.
Yes.
Where did that planting take place?
This is where it gets really interesting. So the Urantia book claims that life on Earth didn't just start in one location, but in 3 separate places simultaneously.
3 separate starting points.
3 separate starting points.
That's wild. And where were these, like, cosmic gardens of Eden?
Less Garden of Eden and more like primordial soup.
Okay.
We're talking about slime and ooze in the ocean floor like billions of years ago.
Slime and ooze, that's how it began.
Slime and ooze.
Not exactly the glamorous start you'd expect.
Not quite.
So how did we get from primordial goo to, well, us?
Well, that's where the very long, slow, and utterly fascinating process of evolution comes in.
Okay.
And the Urantia book's version of this journey has some pretty surprising twists and turns.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got these 3 separate beginnings, right in the slime and the ooze.
Yep.
And from there, life starts branching out in a million different directions. Okay. And what's remarkable is that some of those really early life forms are still around today.
Wait.
Like practically unchanged.
Like what? Would give me an example.
Like sponges.
Sponges. Okay.
Sponges bacteria.
Wow.
These are single-celled organisms that have been around for billions of years.
Okay.
They just keep surviving.
Right.
They keep thriving.
Wow.
And they provide this direct link back to those earliest stages of evolution.
That is so wild to think about.
It is wild.
That, like, right now, there are descendants of these ancient, like, incredibly ancient life forms just hanging out with us.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so if those simple organisms stuck around,
Right.
what about all the other branches of this evolutionary tree?
Yeah.
How do we get from primordial soup to something a little more complex?
Yeah. Well, this is where the Urantia book introduces an idea that's really going to challenge conventional thinking about evolution.
Okay.
They point to a surprising ancestor
Okay.
in our lineage, the frog.
We're related to frogs.
You got it.
Okay. You're messing with me.
I know it sounds strange,
Yeah.
but the book is very specific about this.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean that we directly evolved from frogs as we know them today.
Okay.
Instead, what they're saying is that humans and modern frogs share a common ancestor way back when.
Okay, so somewhere along the way, our paths diverged,
Exactly.
and the frogs were like, all right, we're good, we're frogs.
Right. They kind of did their own thing.
We're going to be frogs.
Right. And we
Got it.
went on this whole other journey.
We did. Okay, so who are the next big players then in our branch of the family tree?
So the next major leap, according to the book, takes us from those early amphibians
Yeah.
to the age of reptiles.
Okay.
And now when we think of reptiles, we often think of like snakes and lizards.
Right.
But this was a time of incredible diversity for reptiles.
Okay.
And some reptiles even took to the skies.
Wait, are you saying that birds evolved from reptiles?
You got it.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the most well-documented transitions in the fossil record.
Right.
But it's still mind-blowing to think about.
It is.
Birds are essentially descendants of these ancient airborne reptiles.
Wow.
Like, it just shows you how evolution can lead to these unexpected and remarkable outcomes.
So from slime to frogs to reptiles, some of whom became birds?
That's right.
Okay.
Quite a journey.
It is quite a journey. But we're missing a pretty crucial step here. Mammals.
Yes.
Where do they fit in?
So this is where our own lineage really starts to take shape.
Okay.
The Urantia book tells us that mammals evolved from a specific group of reptiles, and our ancestors, the ones who would eventually lead to humans, emerged in what is now North America.
North America. See, I always thought that humans originated in Africa.
That's a common misconception.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's true that our more recent human ancestors evolved in Africa.
Okay.
The Urantia book suggests that our lineage actually originated in North America.
Okay.
And later migrated across the Bering Land Bridge to Asia.
So they did the reverse migration.
Kind of a reverse migration, exactly.
Of what we learned about in school.
Yeah.
Why even go through all that trouble?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the Urantia book's answer, I think, is quite fascinating.
Oh.
They suggest that the life carriers, those cosmic gardeners we talked about, orchestrated this migration.
Really?
They saw something in the environment or perhaps in the genetic possibilities of a merger with other human lineages that were already present in Asia.
Okay.
That made it the ideal location for continued evolution.
So they're like, we got to get these guys over to Asia.
Exactly.
It's better over there.
Right. They had a plan.
Wow. Okay, so I'm really starting to see how the Urantia book like weaves together these seemingly like totally separate threads.
Yeah.
You know, you've got scientific concepts like evolution and migration,
Right.
but then you've got this idea of these cosmic beings who are guiding things behind the scenes.
It's a very unique approach, for sure.
Yeah.
But what I find even more intriguing is that the Urantia book explains those moments.
Yeah.
When evolution seems to take like a sudden turn.
Okay.
Or even a wrong turn.
What do you mean?
Well, think about those near extinction events.
Okay.
That pop up throughout evolutionary history.
Yeah, like that asteroid that got the dinosaurs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even closer to home.
Yeah.
Think about that close call that our frog ancestors experienced.
Oh, right, right.
The Urantia book suggests that these events,
Yeah.
while they seem random or even disastrous, they're actually all part of a larger plan.
So even those moments where it seems like life is hanging by a thread,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
There's a purpose.
It's all part of the plan.
Exactly.
That is reassuring in a sort of cosmic way, I guess.
It is reassuring in a cosmic sort of way. Right. And it really emphasizes that the life carriers were nurturing thousands of potential evolutionary lines simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
So even if one lineage got wiped out, It wasn't necessarily a catastrophe.
Right.
It just meant that evolution would chart a different course.
So it's like they're playing a cosmic game of chess.
That's a great way to put it.
And they're thinking like a million moves ahead. And they're like, okay, if this happens, then this will happen. But if this happens, this is what we'll do.
Exactly. They were prepared for every eventuality.
Wow. Okay, so they always had a backup plan.
Always had a backup plan. It's not about controlling every little detail.
Okay.
It's about setting the stage, providing opportunities,
Okay.
and then letting nature, with a little cosmic nudge here and there,
A little nudge.
work its magic.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Okay, so I'm following you so far.
Okay.
But there's one thing I'm still struggling with.
Okay.
If the life carriers are so intent on guiding evolution towards intelligent life, why does it seem like there were so many dead ends?
Yeah.
So many species that evolved, they thrived for a while, and then they vanished.
Yeah, this is another area where I think the Urantia book offers a really unique perspective.
Okay.
It suggests that not all of those extinct species were failures.
Okay.
Some of them served a specific temporary purpose.
Temporary purpose. What does that even mean?
Think of it like building a bridge.
Okay.
You might erect temporary scaffolding
Right?
to support the structure during construction.
Okay.
The scaffolding is essential,
Right.
but once that bridge is complete, you take it down.
You don't need it anymore.
You don't need it anymore.
Okay, are you saying that some of these extinct species were like evolutionary scaffolding?
That's a great way to look at it.
They served a purpose for a time and then their job was done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They played a crucial role in paving the way for more complex life forms.
Wow.
But they weren't meant to be permanent fixtures in the grand scheme of things.
Wow, that is a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah.
So even in extinction, there's this sense of purpose of contributing to this larger evolutionary story.
Exactly. And it speaks to the intricate and interconnected nature of life on Earth.
I like it. Okay.
But perhaps the most thought-provoking aspect of the Urantia book's perspective is how it reconciles this idea of cosmic guidance
Right.
with the very real presence of suffering and hardship in our world.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How do they explain things like disease, natural disasters, all the challenges and struggles that seem to be like this inherent part of life on Earth?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
And it all ties back to that life experiment designation for Earth.
Right, so they were trying new things, pushing the boundaries of what was possible with life.
That's right.
But how does that explain suffering?
Well, according to the Urantia book, one of the consequences of this experimentation was the emergence of what we call disease.
Hold on, are you saying they created diseases as part of their experiment?
It's not quite as simple as that.
Okay.
The book suggests that much of the disease we experience, especially those caused by bacteria, are actually a byproduct of their work with plant life.
Wait, are you telling me that, like, my allergies and the common cold are somehow connected to plants?
In a roundabout way, yes. The Urantia book explains that in their efforts to create this diverse and resilient biosphere, the life carriers experimented with various forms of plant life, including some that were more primitive, more adaptable. And it seems that some of those early plant forms, in their struggle to survive, essentially regressed. They lost their ability to produce chlorophyll.
Which is what plants need for photosynthesis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And instead, they became parasitic.
So they're like, instead of making their own food, we're just going to steal it from these other life forms.
Like tiny little plant vampires.
Tiny little plant vampires. I like it.
And some of those plant-based parasites over time evolved into what we now know as bacteria. Now, the Urantia book suggests that this wasn't necessarily intentional. But it wasn't entirely unexpected either.
So they knew that there was a risk of creating these parasitic life forms.
It appears they did.
Wow.
But they believed that they had a solution to this problem.
I got it. What was their solution?
This is where we get to one of the most intriguing and potentially controversial aspects of the Urantia book's narrative.
Hit me.
It involves the arrival of two very special beings.
The
material son and daughter.
The material son and daughter. Who are they?
The material son and daughter were beings of immense power and wisdom that were sent to Urantia with a very specific mission to uplift humanity. And they were going to do this by essentially sharing their advanced genetics, upgrading our DNA.
So like a cosmic upgrade.
Exactly, like a cosmic upgrade. And one of the side effects of this upgrade was a near immunity to the diseases caused by these rogue plant forms, these bacteria. So they believed that the material son and daughter's arrival would solve the problem of disease once and for all.
But obviously we're still dealing with diseases today, so
Right.
something went wrong. Did they, like, get lost on the way to Earth?
It's even more complicated than that.
Okay.
Their arrival and what happened afterward
Mm-hmm.
is a tale that takes us right to the heart of the Urantia book's cosmic drama.
Okay.
It involves a rebellion,
Right.
a fallen leader,
Okay.
and consequences that continue to shape our world today.
Okay, so you can't just casually mention cosmic rebellions and fallen leaders
Right.
and then be like, anyway, moving on.
I know.
Like, what
It's a
happened?
big deal.
What happened with these guys, the material son and daughter,
Right.
and this whole fallen leader situation?
So this is where things get really wild.
Okay.
Because remember how we talked about Earth being designated as this life experiment world?
Right. They had a little more freedom to experiment here.
Exactly. And it turns out
Yeah.
that even the arrival of the material son and daughter was part of that experiment.
Wait, so they weren't even part of the original plan?
That's what the Urantia book claims.
So they just, like, called them in as reinforcements?
It speaks to the unique nature of our planet, even on a cosmic scale.
Wow. Okay.
But to fully understand what happened, we need to go back to the very beginning of human civilization.
Okay. Rewind time.
Take us back.
Take us back to the dawn of humanity, Urantia Book style.
So the Urantia book explains that every inhabited world is assigned what they call a planetary prince.
Okay.
And this planetary prince is this high-ranking being
Mm-hmm.
who's sent to guide civilizations toward peace and spiritual enlightenment.
Okay.
Our designated prince was named Caligastia.
Caligastia. Okay, so he's like the designated ruler,
Yes.
the wise and benevolent leader who's going to show us the way?
That's exactly right. He was supposed to arrive on Earth around the same time the humans developed free will.
Okay.
But for reasons that are not fully explained in the book,
Yeah.
there was a delay.
A delay. How long are we talking? Like a couple hundred years, a thousand years?
Try hundreds of thousands of years.
What? Hundreds of thousands of years. Okay, and so what happened? Like, did anybody check in?
Well, in the meantime,
Yeah.
12 incredibly wise beings called Melchizedeks were sent to kind of observe Earth
Okay.
and offer guidance to the life carriers.
So they were like the cosmic babysitters.
Exactly.
They're like, all right, we'll just hang out here.
Now keep an eye on
You
this.
keep an eye on things until the real authority shows up.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the material son and daughter?
Right.
Where do they fit into all this?
So the life carriers, recognizing all the challenges that humanity was facing
With this delay.
with the delay of the planetary prince
And the whole plant parasite situation?
and the plant situation, they decide to make a special request.
Okay.
They ask for the material son and daughter to be sent to Earth.
Wow, so it's like they looked at the situation. They're like, okay, we need to call in some reinforcements here. Like, this is getting out of hand.
We need some heavy hitters.
We need the big guns.
Right. And remember, this was still a life experiment world.
Right.
So the rules were a little different,
Okay.
which is perhaps why this request was granted.
Okay.
But the timing
Oh.
could not have been worse.
What? I bet.
So just as the material son and daughter are getting ready to make their appearance,
Okay.
Caligastia, our long-awaited planetary prince, finally shows up.
Okay.
But he is not alone.
Oh, no.
And he is not the benevolent leader
Here we go.
that everyone was expecting.
Okay.
He has aligned himself
This is not good.
with a very powerful being called Lucifer,
Lucifer.
who had rebelled against the cosmic order.
Wait, hold up. Are you saying that our planet's, like, designated ruler went rogue?
Essentially, yes.
He joined the dark side.
He joined the dark side, and this rebellion, this cosmic upheaval, had huge consequences for Earth.
Wow. Okay.
The Urantia book actually refers to it as the Lucifer Rebellion,
Okay.
and it set the stage for a whole new chapter in Earth's history, one that was marked by conflict, confusion, and a real departure from the original plan for human evolution.
So the material son and daughter are like, hey, everybody, we're here to help.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, we're in the middle of a rebellion.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster.
Wow.
And their mission to uplift humanity, well, it did not go as planned.
So instead of getting a cosmic upgrade, humanity got like a cosmic downgrade.
I don't know if I'd call it a downgrade, but it was definitely a detour.
A detour.
A detour that led to centuries of conflict and confusion and separation from our spiritual origins.
Wow. Okay, this is a lot to process.
It's a lot.
It sounds like the Urantia book is saying that human evolution is like this big cosmic drama.
Yes.
And we're caught in the middle.
With these forces of good and evil.
Yes.
Light and darkness.
Order and chaos.
Battling it out.
And we're just here.
And we are here trying to make sense of it all.
That's wild. Well, on that note, I think we should probably wrap up this deep dive.
I think that's a good idea.
I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listener, thank you so much for sending in these excerpts from the Urantia book.
Yes, thank you.
We've obviously just scratched the surface here.
There's so much more to explore.
There's so much more to explore, but hopefully this has sparked your curiosity.
I hope so.
And left you with some things to think about.
Definitely.
About life evolution and our place in this wild and wonderful universe.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.